I must apologise for being a bit slow today with YouTube videos, but I must also explain that in the last 2 days I've had to deal a great deal with this sort of mindless bureaucracy with the Home Office, with FedEx, with the NHS and so on. And it seems to sap energy. And while on the one hand you get through it, on the other hand, what is a simple process, which should take 10 minutes, actually takes 3 hours at a time. That's 9 hours of the day gone, just holding on the phone and doing nothing, achieving nothing, and listening to this awful music. Anyway, I thought I'd review what was happening yesterday in Prime Minister's Questions and put up Prime Minister's Questions so you can see the whole thing. The dominant feature for me was not so much Kemi Badenoch's using all her questions to focus on the grooming gangs and becoming slightly petulant in the process. The main feature was the sulk from Nigel Farage. He didn't simply absent himself, he ascended. Like a damp Mary Poppins without the umbrella. He hovered above the fray in the gallery, mopping his brow and dispensing verdicts on the mortals below. The symbolism was obvious and a little comic. He announced on Twitter that he would be a mere spectator, yet the bright blue suit and the familiar grin were clocked not in the public gallery but in this distinguished visitors section where many MPs quietly perch when the chamber is rammed full. The stunt aimed for martyrdom and landed in melodrama. Meanwhile, the session itself was meaty. Kemi Badenoch pressed the Prime Minister on the national inquiry into grooming gangs, citing survivors who have lost faith in the process. 5 of them have now said that they will only remain if Jess Phillips remains. Starmer replied that the scope would not be diluted, cultural and religious questions would not be ducked, and Dame Louise Casey would now support the work. And the same afternoon, the last publicly known candidate to chair the inquiry withdrew, underscoring the trust problem that survivors have flagged. Politics loves performance, but here the substance is painful and urgent, and the government needs a chair with unimpeachable independence and a survivor-first method. On migration, the news cycle made mischief with timing. As Farage spectated, word broke that a man returned to France under the one-in, one-out pilot. And he'd come back across the channel on a small boat. 1 in, 1 out, 1 back in again. A policy reduced too fast by a single dinghy. Add to the recent courtroom snags to removals and you have the look of a flagship that still takes on water. Then the monarchy intruded, as it tends to, with Sir Ed Davey inviting Starmer to back select committee scrutiny of Crown estate arrangements, explicitly including the occupant of Royal Lodge. Starmer said yes in principle. It was a small line with heavy freight, a nod to transparency at a moment when public patience with royal exceptionalism is thin. The emotional centre of the day, however, was Angela Rayner's personal statement. No Geoffrey Howe thunderbolt, no Robin Cook set piece, intentionally so. She spoke with visible nerves about an honest tax mistake linked to arrangements for her disabled son, affirmed that the tax will be paid, and sketched a life story that actually did lean on the welfare state. In a chamber that overproduces the convected origin tale, this felt real. It also hinted at a deeper truth about government benches. Technocratic grind demands hard choices on benefits, fuel payments and aid, while the backbenchers can still force reversals. Rayner may be more dangerous from the back row than from the dispatch box.
When I made my maiden speech over a decade ago, I said it was the honour of my life to represent Ashton-under-Lyne in this House. And alongside serving in this historic Labour government, it is still the honour of my life. Yeah. I promised then to bring determination, commitment and my socialist values to this House while representing them, and I intend to continue doing so. Yeah. My title may have changed, but the strength and the character of the people of my constituency have not. First, Mr. Speaker, let me address the circumstances under which I left office. The last few weeks have been incredibly tough on my family, with my personal life so much in the public eye. All of us in public life know all too well the toll of the intense scrutiny we face places on our loved ones. But I've always believed in the highest standards of transparency and accountability. And it is what the public expects, and it is the price we pay for the privilege of service. That's why I referred myself to the independent advisor and gave him access to all of the information he needed. As I set out then, parents of a disabled child with a trust who divorce and seek different properties face a complex tax position. If there is one good thing, Mr. Speaker, that can come out of this, I hope that other families in the situation may now be aware of that and avoid getting into the position that I am now in. I am, of course, corresponding with the HMRC, and they have my full cooperation. There is no excuse not to pay taxes owed, and I will do so. This was an honestly made mistake, but when you make a mistake, you take responsibility. To serve at the highest level of government was a privilege, not for the title or the office, but for the chance to change the lives of the people I grew up with and live alongside. Every day, I work to serve those same working class communities. In every decision that I made, I thought of them. I know the power of politics, Mr. Speaker, to change lives because it changed my own. The last Labour government gave me the foundation to build a better life for me and my young son. A council house to support me, Sure Start to help me raise my kids, and the security of a minimum wage. A good job and decent, secure home is not too much to ask. But for too many, it is out of reach. That is what I was determined to change. For the people all of us on these benches are fighting for, and we must keep fighting for. That's why, despite the fierce criticism and the relentless lobbying from vested interests, I'm so proud, Mr. Speaker, that within weeks our landmark employment rights bill will become law. It's a game changer for millions stuck in insecure and low-paid work. It will give them dignity and security that they deserve. Now, Mr. Speaker, there are those that say we can't afford to deliver new rights for working people, and I say we cannot afford not to. Labour is at its best when we're bold, and I've been so proud to work alongside some of the trade unionists who nurtured and supported me to deliver the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation. This is a personal statement, Mr. Speaker, but the trade union movement taught me that it's not about yourself, it's about us. It's about who we're here for. And everything that I've done has been an endeavour for us, for our people who elected us and who we serve. As Secretary of State for Housing, it was my solemn duty to the Grenfell Tower inquiry. It's difficult to think of a more humbling experience. A stark reminder of what happens, Mr. Speaker, when we forget who we're here to serve. It's been a privilege to work on behalf of those families, and it's why this government will pass a duty of candour. Make no mistake, the Hillborough law is for the 97 and their families. But it's also for the sub-paymasters who endured the Horizon scandal, the victims of the infected blood, and those who died or whose lives were changed forever in the Grenfell Tower fire. A line in the sand that says the public will always come first. And I'm also incredibly proud that this Labour government provided the biggest investment in social and affordable housing in a generation. It was the foundation of a decent home that gave me the security to build my life on. Now we must provide a safe and decent home to millions of people across this country. And when our Renters' Rights Bill returns to the House this afternoon, we will give a generation of renters the protections, the security and the rights that they deserve. Yeah. From votes at 16 to a historic investment in homelessness prevention, neighbourhood renewal to fair funding for the whole country and putting power back where it belongs in the hands of working people everywhere. I was proud to lead, but we achieved together. With my honourable friends on these benches and the support of our entire movement, the lifeblood of this Labour government. When I think back about how far I've come, I remember when, at age 16, I was pregnant with my child, needing a job and a home. People wrote me off, assumed that I'd be on benefits the whole of my life. But, Mr. Speaker, I wanted to prove them wrong. Yeah. I've carried that with me, whether it's on these benches, at the dispatch box, or representing this country abroad. The support and advice of so many friends and colleagues has kept me going. But I want to give a special mention to my excellent ministerial and parliamentary team, my honourable friends, the members for Greenwich and Woolwich, Oldham, West and Royton, Nottingham North and Kimberley, Wellingborough, Huddersfield and Gateshead, and my noble friends, Lord Khan and Baroness Taylor, and my superb parliamentary and political staff, and the many excellent civil servants. And I want to say a special thank you to many of my constituents and the public who have made contact with me. I offer my successor and his new colleagues my congratulations and, of course, my support. I am fortunate to count so many, not just as honourable friends, but actual friends. I'll just finish by saying, Mr. Speaker, that in each generation it has fallen to a Labour government to strengthen the hand of working people. In 1945 it was maternity pay and the NHS and homes for heroes out of the ruins of war. In the 1970s it was Barbara Castle and the fight for equal pay. And in the 90s it was the national minimum wage. And despite the opposition, because of the work of this Labour government, we have the opportunity to write a new chapter of justice and fairness for working people. Now, Mr. Speaker, as tough as politics can be, it is nothing compared to what thousands of my constituents and this country face every single day. Backbench or front bench, elected office is not about us, but about our chance to change the lives of others. And from wherever I sit on these benches, I will fight with everything I have to do exactly that.
I will just let the
So,
be clear
what of the airborne critic, Farage? The rules of PMQs are dull but democratic. The Speaker allocates questions largely by party size and order. Reform has 5 MPs out of 650. If Farage wants more bites, he can build a larger group or master. He can have some sort of arrangement with another party or master the artistry of interventions when called. Sulking upstairs advertises wounded vanity but not popular sovereignty. The country expects grip on the hard files, a credible survivor-led inquiry that commands trust, migration policy that works in practice as well as in press releases, and constitutional propriety over crowned assets. The moral of yesterday is simple. Politics is theatre, yes, but theatre works only when the plot advances. PMQs offered 3 plot points that will run and run. A fraught child protection inquiry that must earn legitimacy, an immigration scheme struggling against law and logistics, and a quiet turn of the transparency screw on royal finances. Against that, Farage's gallery pantomime was a sort of comic interval, entertaining, quotable, and entirely beside the point.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On Sunday, we unveiled Labour's plan to recruit hundreds of thousands of workers into clean energy, creating quality, well-paid jobs in every quarter of the United Kingdom. On Monday, we announced the new V-level qualification to make sure every young person has the skills to realise their potential. On Tuesday, our first ever regional investment summit in Birmingham secured £10 billion in investment, and today we're announcing tough new penalties to end the scandal of pollution in our rivers and seas. Mr. Speaker, that's national renewal with a Labour government. Mr. Speaker, yesterday I met Claire Throssell, who is here with us in the gallery today. Her two young sons, Paul and Jack, were murdered 11 years ago this week by her abusive ex-husband after a family court ordered he should have unsupervised contact with them. Claire's bravery and her campaign is humbling, and today I'm pleased we can announce that we will repeal the presumption of parental involvement, putting children's safety first. This morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others, Mr. Speaker, in addition to my duties in this House. I shall have further such meetings later today.
Dr. Ross-Savage.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to associate myself with the Prime Minister's sympathies extended towards Claire and commend her on her bravery. Mr. Speaker, I regret to inform the House that yesterday there was a very, very serious breach of national security when my PMQ was photographed heading into number 10 through a transparent folder. However, the nation can rest easy. On this occasion, no state secrets were revealed. However, it does make me wonder whether this government can be trusted with a digital ID scheme that is mandatory in all but name. Can the Prime Minister... I'd like to keep the Prime Minister on his toes. Will the Prime Minister reverse this misguided scheme, or will he persist with a plan that makes all of our personal data vulnerable to hacks and attacks?
Prime Minister.
Well, I thank you for our question. The whole point of digital ID, of course, is that you can't see it. So that should at least deal with the first of her concerns. Look, it is important that we make access to services, public services, as easy as possible for people. And we all know the difficulties that so many people have accessing services, and digital ID has been shown in other countries to help. I do think this is an important step forward. I also think it's very important as part of our plan to tackle those who are entering our country illegally.
Jane Kirkham.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Households in Cornwall in temporary accommodation have increased by 265% in 5 years. So I'm delighted that this Labour government is investing £39 billion into social and affordable housing. In Cornwall, we're developing a strategy to provide housing at sites like Pydar in my constituency, which need support from Homes England. Will the Prime Minister arrange for us to meet the Housing Minister at our Homes Cornwall launch next month to accelerate discussions on a strategic partnership for Cornwall so we can build the right homes in the right places for local people?
Prime Minister.
Well, I know the Housing Minister would be delighted to meet my honourable friend to help unlock new homes for her constituents. We are working closely with local authorities through our small sites aggregator to build new affordable homes on brownfield sites. My goal, Mr. Speaker, is to restore the dream of home and ownership, which was stolen by the government, by the opposition when they were in government. Thank you.
Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Bed.
Mr. Speaker, first of all, can I pay tribute to the former Conservative MP Oliver Colville, who has very sadly passed away after a long illness. Colleagues will remember him for his love of cricket and, of course, hedgehogs. He will be very much missed. Mr. Speaker, 4 victims on the Rape Gang Survivors Panel have resigned. And they've resigned because they've lost all confidence in the government's inquiry. So I'm giving my first question to one of them, to Fiona. She said, being dismissed and contradicted by a minister when you're telling the truth takes you right back to that feeling of not being believed all over again. Fiona's question is simple. What's the point in speaking up if we're just going to be called liars?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank her for raising that on behalf of Fiona, and let me give Fiona and the House my answer, Mr. Speaker, because the grooming scandal was one of the worst scandals of our time. Women and girls were abused and exploited by predatory gangs of men, and survivors have been ignored for many years, including by the state that, of course, is supposed to protect them. My vow to Fiona and them is that this national inquiry will change that. I do acknowledge that in recent days some members, including Fiona, have decided to step away from the panel. I say this, Mr. Speaker, should they wish to return, the door will always be open. But even if they do not, we owe it to them and to Fiona and to the country to answer the concerns that they have raised. The inquiry is not and will never be watered down. Its scope will not change. It will examine the ethnicity and religion of the offenders, and we will find the right person to chair the inquiry. I can tell the House today, Mr. Speaker, that Dame Louise Casey will now support the work of the inquiry, and it will get to the truth. Injustice will have no place to hide.
Mr. Speaker, I doubt she'll be satisfied with that answer. He says that they could return to the panel if they wish to. Why would they do that? The government has been engaged in a briefing war against survivors. Elizabeth. Oh, really? They say shame? Why don't they listen to what Elizabeth had to say? Why don't they listen to what Elizabeth had to say? Elizabeth, who was abused in Rotherham from the age of 14, had this to say, and I quote, "The government has created a toxic environment for survivors." They were looking for answers from the Prime Minister, and what they've heard is Labour MPs saying shame at their words. Yesterday, Mr. Speaker, the Safeguarding Minister said Elizabeth was wrong. Who should we believe? The Prime Minister's Safeguarding Minister or Elizabeth?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let me put on record my respect for all of the survivors who've been through the most awful ordeals. And I want to thank those that have been involved so far for the work in the process. What we're trying to do is to get this right and have an inquiry with survivors at the heart. As the Safeguarding Minister told the House yesterday, that's obviously not easy. They've all come with difficult experiences. There are a wide range of views, understandably, and every survivor does bring their own painful experience to this. The survivors met the prospective chairs this week, and we want to have them to have the chance to engage. I want survivors to be at the heart of this. I want an inquiry that can get to the truth. These are the hard yards, I accept that, but I want to press on and get this right.
Mr. Speaker, he says that he wants survivors to be at the heart of this, but in his first PMQs this year, he said we did not need a national inquiry. And when he did, all of these MPs cheered. They were nodding their heads, including the Safeguarding Minister. They voted against the national inquiry 3 times. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. They voted against the national inquiry. They voted against the national inquiry 3 times, so the victims don't believe them. They can say no as much as they like. It is on the record. They don't like it, but it's true. Now, one of the victims has quit. Contrary to what the Prime Minister's just said and what the Home Secretary wrote this morning, they believe that the inquiry will downplay the racial and religious motivations behind their abuse. Aren't the victims right when they call it a cover-up?
Prime Minister.
Well, let me reassure the victims and the House that the scope of the inquiry will not be diluted, and we won't shy away from cultural or religious issues. And, Mr. Speaker, it was me that commissioned Baroness Casey in the first place, who gave me her recommendation in relation to a national inquiry, and we have, in the 4 months since then, finalised the panel and trying to get the leadership of this inquiry right with survivors at the heart. Mr. Speaker, in that period, we have also reopened 1,200 historic closed cases. I have long argued, Mr. Speaker, that the criminal route where it can be pursued is the right route for perpetrators. We've introduced mandatory reporting of child sex abuse. I happen to think that is a vital safeguard. I've been campaigning for that for over a decade. I asked the last government to introduce it, and that fell on deaf ears. And that mandatory reporting of child sex abuse is something each and every one of them voted against earlier this year. And we've given victims and survivors the power to seek an independent review of their cases. But, Mr. Speaker, in relation to this inquiry, I want to go as fast as we can to get the justice that is deserved. I want to ensure survivors are involved in that, and we're balancing the two to get this right, and I'll continue to do so.
Mr. Speaker, he's talking about mandatory reporting. I will remind him what Fiona asked. What is the point if the victims aren't going to be believed? What would be the point of mandatory reporting? All of this is happening now. All he's saying is because 4 of those victims resigned from the survivors panel. If they hadn't done that, they would have continued with the watering down, which we all know that they were carrying out. So, yes, the victims are right to be worried. He also talked about looking for a chair. It has been 10 months since we first called for a national inquiry. 10 months. It is shocking that they still do not have a chair. One of the final 2 candidates, Mr. Speaker, has pulled out, leaving a former police officer that the victims don't want. What they do want is a judge. They deserve a judge. So, Mr. Speaker, we are talking now. We are talking about the industrial-scale rape of women and girls. Unlike most of the inquiries going on, why is it that this inquiry doesn't deserve a judge?
Prime Minister.
Can I answer that? It's a serious point, Mr. Speaker, because whether it should be judge-led was looked at by Louise Casey, and she decided against that for a reason, and her reasons were twofold. I'll spell them out. The first was the speed with which we could do this. And it would have been... They asked the question, and the first was the speed with which we could do this. The second is really important, and that is that at the same time as the inquiry, I was absolutely determined that criminal investigations would go on at the same time. One of the problems that judge-led inquiries run into, I've seen and experienced this myself, is that they're often held back until the end of the criminal investigations. And I was determined that we'd be able to run the two together. And it's because of that, Mr. Speaker, that we've been able to reopen 1,200 historic cases at the same time. And, Mr. Speaker, she asks, what's the point of mandatory reporting that she voted against? I don't think she understands how it works. This, Mr. Speaker, is mandatory reporting of those that have had allegations made to them, and there's clear enough evidence they've then not passed that on. That is a fundamental problem in the system. That is why we've changed the law. They should hang their heads in shame for having voted against that vital protection.
What he should hang his head in shame in is calling this a far-right bandwagon when we first raised this issue. The deputy leader, the future deputy leader, we all know who's going to win, called this a dog whistle. What we need to think about right now, Mr. Speaker, is the victims. It is the survivors. I spoke to one of them yesterday. Let's remember, these are victims who waived their anonymity, an incredibly difficult thing to do. And they believe that the safeguarding minister has lied to them and about them. One of the survivors has said, and I quote, "Jess Phillips needs to be removed because I don't think her conduct during this has been acceptable for the position that she holds." That is, those aren't my words. Those are the words of a survivor. It is a shame that Labour MPs are drowning that out. The member for Birmingham Yardley has clearly lost the confidence of the victims. Does she still have the confidence of the Prime Minister?
Can I just say, Prime Minister, even if we are quoting somebody else, we shouldn't quote it because it's a direct allegation against a member of this House. So I'm sure that that's not what was intended, Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I respect the views of all the survivors, and there are different views. I accept that. But the safeguarding minister, I think, has probably more experience than any other person in this House in dealing with violence against women and girls. Alongside her will be Louise Casey. These two individuals, Mr. Speaker, have spent decades standing up for those who have been abused and sexually exploited. And I absolutely think they're the right people to take this forward.
Mr. Speaker, she doesn't have more experience than the survivors. The fact is, just a few weeks ago, he was standing there telling us he had full confidence in the best friend of a convicted paedophile. So it is no surprise that people have no confidence in what he is saying. The victims have said that she should be sacked. We on this side of the House believe that she should be sacked because this is about Labour failure. Labour never wanted this inquiry. We demanded it. It has been Labour-run councils, Trafford, Bradford, Blackpool, that tried to suppress the truth. It is Labour ministers attacking the victims. We're standing up for them. And how is it, Mr. Speaker, how is it that whether it is rape or Chinese espionage, when he's in a position to do something about it, it's always someone else's fault?
Mr. Speaker, my priorities are listening to and standing up for the survivors. That's why we're doing the work on the inquiry. That's why we've reopened the criminal cases, why we brought in mandatory reporting. But I would gently remind them they had 14 years in office. They barely mentioned this issue. And where there were inquiries, they failed to act on them. We have done more in the time we've been in office than they did in 14 long years.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mental ill health affects 1 in 4 of us. It costs this country up to £300 billion a year. So will the Prime Minister join me in thanking the staff at McGull Health Park who do a brilliant job in looking after those suffering from mental ill health? And will he wish them well with their plans to set up a world-leading research and innovation centre which will make an enormous contribution towards this government's stated aim of giving mental and physical health care equal priority?
Prime Minister.
Well, of course I join in thanking the staff at McGull Health Park. Mr. Speaker, we are investing £15.6 billion to bring down mental health waiting lists, vital in continuing to drive down inactivity and helping people to get the care that they need. In the upcoming multi-year capital budgets, we will enable NHS Trust to accelerate decisions on local priorities, and that could include developments like the Mental Health Digital Research Centre that he champions.
Leader of the Liberal Democrats, Sir Ed Davey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I agree with the Prime Minister about the words he said about Claire Frossell? And agree with him that it's right that we change the law, and I hope it's named after her sons, Jack and Paul. Mr. Speaker, given the revelations about Royal Lodge, does the Prime Minister agree that this House needs to properly scrutinise the Crown Estate to ensure taxpayers' interests are protected? The Chancellor herself has said that the current arrangements are wrong, so will the Prime Minister support a select committee inquiry so all those involved can be called for evidence, including the current occupant?
Prime Minister.
Well, it's important in relation to all properties, Crown properties, that there is proper scrutiny. I certainly support that.
Sir Ed Davey.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I hope the House can look at this properly and all people can be summoned to the relevant committee. But turning to the economy now, Mr. Speaker, I know members opposite are relieved. They are finally allowed to say the Conservatives' Brexit deal is a disaster. Yeah. But, Mr. Speaker, that can't just be a political ruse to attack the honourable member for Clacton, however much he deserves it. Or even worse, Mr. Speaker, or even worse, Mr. Speaker, given we still have the highest inflation in the G7, it mustn't be a smokescreen to raise taxes on ordinary people. Mr. Speaker, it must be a call to action. So will the Prime Minister act now to repair the Brexit damage by negotiating a new UK-EU customs union to boost Britain's trade and grow our economy?
No, I don't think that's the way forward. What we've done is to have a much closer relationship with the EU, recognising the damage done by the flawed Brexit deal that the party opposite negotiated. We've also struck deals with India and with the US, record investment into this country, and the fastest growing economy in the G7 in the first half of this year.
Daniel Francis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
This summer, I visited every road across the Bexley and Crayford constituency to reporting potholes to ensure the £895,000 given by this Labour government to the Conservative-controlled council in the London Borough of Bexley is spent. However, the Conservative cabinet member responsible for roads on the council wrote to our local news shopper newspaper asking that I stop reporting potholes because it was causing work for the council. Will the Prime Minister join with me in urging my Conservative council to get on and spend that money to make roads like May Place Road East safe to drive on? So this is a local Conservative council telling him not to point out potholes in case they have to fill them. That's outrageous, just like the record of the last 14 years. Mr Speaker, we know how problematic, dangerous and costly potholes are to drivers. That's why we've delivered record investment to maintain our roads and fix potholes. That's £1.6 billion, Mr Speaker. That money's been given to councils, but it comes with strings. So my message to reinforce this is clear to the council. Use the money, fix the roads, show how you're carrying out repairs, or lose the money because it's councils who get on with the job of fixing our roads. And I'll make sure the Road Minister follows up with him.
Ellie Jones.
Given that the TUC has calculated that the wealthiest 10% of households in the UK hold more wealth than everyone else in the country put together, does the Prime Minister agree with me that it is inequality, not immigration, that is a threat to our country?
Well, Prime Minister. Mr Speaker, we need to deal both with the levels of immigration and with inequality, and that's what this government is doing. And as we get on with trying to boost our economy, can I gently point out that if we want more equality, if we want our economy to be stronger, their party needs to start voting for some of the measures that will make it necessary.
Michelle Walsh.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. In March 2022, I gave birth to my son by emergency C-section. Both my son and my life put at risk by a failing maternity service. In Nottinghamshire, we know failing maternity services far too well, with harm caused to mothers, babies and fathers. Over 2,400 families involved in the Donna Ockington inquiry. So does the Prime Minister agree with me that grief must be the engine of change, and where previous governments has failed, it is imperative that this government transforms maternity services so that every birth is an informed birth and every birth is a safe birth?
Prime Minister.
Can I extend my gratitude to my honourable friend and for all of those who spoke for their powerful and moving stories in the baby loss debate, I think, on Monday, Mr Speaker. And I can assure her, I was actually at the Pride of Britain Awards on Monday night, and very many people came forward to me having heard some of the speeches from this House, particularly the personal testimonies. And so those stories really did have power in making the argument. We do need to fix what needs fixing, so we'll fix the maternity services, improve safety and make sure every mother is heard and gets high-quality care, Mr Speaker.
Mr Speaker, my constituents have so many questions they'd like to ask the Prime Minister, but I'll settle for one today. Can the Prime Minister define when grey belt is really grey?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr Speaker, let me give a simple example. We had an example of green belt, which was in fact a car park where building didn't take place, a non-green belt, which was an open playing field where building did take place. That doesn't make sense to me, and that's why we've got the policy we have.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. 12-year-old Millie Blair from Oundle, who joins us today in the gallery along with her mum Gemma, her sister Jessica and her dad Gordon. On Millie's 11th birthday, she was diagnosed with a rare bone cancer, which led to her leg being amputated. Millie attends Prince William School but cannot access the lower playing field because the slope is too steep. Her parents, the school and I have asked the East Midlands Academy Trust to put in a ramp. They've refused, claiming they are not subject to certain parts of the Equalities Act. Would the Prime Minister agree with me that the Trust has an absolute moral obligation to make these adjustments so that Millie can have full access to all of the school so she can play and thrive with all of her friends.
Prime Minister.
Can I just welcome Millie to the gallery? She's looking down, as I appreciate the members opposite can't see her, but she's smiling down with the courage and positivity that I know is everything to her, and we absolutely salute that, and we're humbled by it. In relation to the decision, Mr. Speaker, I really do find it hard to understand how a school trust could make a decision like that in relation to the ramp. And rather than, as it were, berate them from here, I would just implore them on behalf of, I think, everybody here, and Millie in particular, to just look again and please, I hope with the endorsement of the whole House, to reconsider that decision, put that ramp in, and match the positivity and the courage that Millie has shown all of us. And I thank the honourable friend for raising this campaign.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Times has reported that local elections across the country will be delayed for a second year in a row. The leader of my local authority, Surrey County Council, has had to go on record to say that he hasn't called for elections to be cancelled, but other Conservatives clearly have. Mr. Speaker, can the Prime Minister give me a cast-iron guarantee that my constituents in Woking and others across the country will not lose their democratic right to vote?
Prime Minister. Well, I thank him for his question, and he knows we inherited a situation where local councils were underfunded and millions were wasted on duplication. By reforming the system, which is what we're doing, we will save money and reinvest it in improved public services. In Surrey, just in response to his question, we expect the elections to be in the new unitary councils, and we'll be setting out the planned timetable very shortly.
Alan Strickland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Central to growing our economy is delivering major events that drive footfall and investment. So does the Prime Minister share my disappointment that since reform took over the running of Durham County Council, they've slashed funding for Durham Pride, which brings in 20,000 people a year? So they can't cope with accountability, Mr. Speaker. They have cancelled the Lumiere Festival, which has brought nearly 1.5 million people into County Durham since it started, undermining businesses, undermining the communities. Would the Prime Minister agree that if Reform can't run one county council, they certainly can't run Scotland, Wales or our United Kingdom?
Well, he's absolutely right to point out, as voters in Durham can see, what you get if you vote Reform is total chaos and broken promises. Mr. Speaker, councils have a vital role in our communities. And it's not just Durham where Reform are doing real. I think 4 councillors in Kent have just been suspended for bringing the party into disrepute. I mean, bring the party into disrepute is quite something for a party whose Welsh leader accepts Russian bribes to spread Putin's propaganda.
Sir Ashley Fox.
Mr. Speaker, Western Hospice Care provides an invaluable service for my constituents with a terminal illness. The hospice now faces an increased bill for national insurance charges of £139,000 a year as a result of the Chancellor's jobs tax. Now, the Prime Minister will know that the money he's announced for capital expenditure can't be used for day-to-day running expenses. He will know that the money he's announced for children's hospices won't benefit Western Hospice Care. So what help can he offer Western Hospice Care as they struggle under the tax burden imposed by his government?
Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we're putting in the support that we can for hospices, and of course the money that we've put aside at the budget for the NHS is absolutely crucial in relation to that. The NHS was underfunded for 14 long years. We've now put the funding in to allow the NHS to do the work that it needs.
Julie Bibb.
Mr. Speaker, December will mark the 10th anniversary of the Storm Desmond floods that devastated my Carlisle constituency and forced thousands of people from their homes. Despite promising us new flood defences, previous Conservative governments left them unfinished. With climate-related rainfalls forecast to increase in the North West over the next decade, does the Prime Minister agree with me that the climate change sceptic policies peddled by some of the parties opposite are both reckless and dangerous? And will he assure the people of Carlisle that this Labour government will defend our great border city?
Prime Minister. Well, Mr. Speaker, she's absolutely right that the Tories left our flood defences in their worst state on record. And we, of course, are building them up again, investing over £10 million to protect homes and businesses. And we've delivered over 150 flood schemes in our first year. And I want to see this progress even more rapidly. My honourable friend is a superb champion on this issue. We provided £300,000 to complete the feasibility study for stronger defences in her constituency.
Chairman Hall.
Mr. Speaker, as last week's urgent question highlighted, Jehoots, the pharmacy non-provider, is effectively de facto bankrupt and possibly even insolvent too. Last week we discussed at great length the impact that is having on patients securing their prescriptions. It is now becoming increasingly evident that staff, whilst are being told by HMRC is being told by Jehoots they're being paid, are not. Lana Gulston and Blake Horwood in my constituency haven't been paid since the 18th of July. They are resorting to the kindness of friends and the support of food banks to make ends meet. The Minister, the member for Aberfan and Maesteg, is doing fantastic work to try to drive forward modernisation of the regulations. But this is now impacting the work of the Department of Business and Trade, HMRC and DWP. Could I urge the Prime Minister to convene those three departments alongside the DOHSC to secure a better deal and a fair deal for patients, but also for those who are currently employed and trapped in employment, not released by being made redundant, but are not being paid?
Minister. Well, can I thank him for raising this really serious issue, as he's done on a number of occasions, because it affects constituents of his, but also across the country. And it's simply unacceptable that customers and staff have been so badly let down. I know he will be meeting the relevant minister, but just let me update him here and now in a couple of respects, because officials are currently reviewing whether the Integrated Care Boards and the General Pharmaceutical Council need additional powers to address pharmacy businesses that do not play by the rules. And I think that's exactly the point he raises. That could include powers for the councils to go after business owners in addition to the pharmacy professionals. There'll be more detail when he has his meeting, but I thought it helpful to give those two indications.
Satirical.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well over 1,000 youth clubs have closed in this country since 2010, with a huge negative impact on our young people. This is despite the fact that youth clubs have had a long positive history in this country for helping young people to mature in a healthy fashion. In particular, FAB clubs help disabled and non-disabled people to build friendships in an inclusive environment. The FAB charity are here in Parliament later today to gain support for their work. So can I ask the Prime Minister to commend the work that they do, and can I also ask him to consider how best to support the youth club movement to help the next generation of young people grow into well-adjusted adults?
Well, can I thank my honourable friend for his question? He's a credit to his community. I know firsthand he's done so much hard work to help heal, to rebuild and to look to a brighter future for Southport. Can I welcome FAB Charity to Parliament? They do fantastic work, Mr. Speaker, to help break down barriers. And I'm proud that Labour is backing our youth clubs with £30 million of grant funding, doubling the numbers of youth hubs and providing a youth guarantee with earning or learning guaranteed for our young people. Our national youth strategy will be set out in the autumn.
Rebecca Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week, I invited the Prime Minister to match the Conservative pledge to scrap business rates for our high streets. However, he declined. Instead, he pointed me towards the small business strategy. Since then, businesses have been in touch to tell me that this strategy will make little or no difference to their future. With 14,000 high street businesses expected to close this year alone, and with retail businesses in my constituency facing a doubling of their business rates, when will this Labour government deliver on its commitment to reduce business rates, given that they are unprepared to accept our policy of scrapping them altogether?
Mr. Speaker, our small business plan was drawn up with small businesses. I sent her a copy online. I hope she shared that with the 3,000 small businesses in her constituency. They show what we're doing. Well, we're reflecting what they asked us to do before they shout rubbish. This is what they asked us to do. £1 billion of additional lending to small businesses, £3 billion extra for small businesses to scale up, dealing with late payments with the biggest reform for 25 years.
Alex Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As Britain faced peril in World War II, Winston Churchill took a radical step. He changed the clocks to shift extra daylight into the evenings. As the clocks go back this weekend, would the Prime Minister take a look at the evidence on trialling Churchill time again to cut carbon, reduce bills, improve road safety, boost the hospitality industry, and be the Prime Minister who will brighten up all of our lives?
Prime Minister.
Well, I thank her for her question, and we'll look at the relevant material.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Many in Glastonbury and Somerton are forced to travel hundreds of miles to see an NHS dentist, or suffer in agony, or fall into debt to pay for private treatment, or turn to DIY dentistry, like Jennifer, who extracted 2 of her teeth over the weekend. They simply can't wait for the consultation on the broken NHS contract. Mr. Speaker, they deserve immediate action. So will the Prime Minister outline what measures he's taking to end the dental desert in Somerset for good?
Prime Minister. Well, can I thank you for raising this, because added to the list of shocking things the last government left was the shocking state of NHS dentistry, broken like everything else under the last government. In relation to her question, we are rolling out extra urgent care appointments. In Somerset, Integrated Care Board is expected to deliver over 13,000 extra dental appointments this year, and I'll give her more details in due course. We're also reforming the dental contract, which will shift focus onto retaining NHS dentists.
Final question now, please, Tuttle.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ahmed Al-Ibrahim was only 16 years old when he was fatally stabbed in Huddersfield. His life was cruelly taken away in what the police described as an unprovoked and motiveless attack. On a visit to Netherhall Learning Campus in my constituency last week, I know how important this issue is for young people. So will the Prime Minister commit to redoubling efforts to tackle serious violence and knife crime through more visible policing, stronger prevention and investment in youth services?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank her for raising this devastating case? And my thoughts, I'm sure those of the whole House, are with the family and friends. Through our crime and policing bill, we're increasing penalties for the illegal sale of knives and giving police new powers to seize knives likely to be used for violence or cause harm. We've also launched a coalition to tackle knife crime, to bring together campaigners and community leaders to tackle the root causes of knife crime and help protect the next generation.
From benches, change over.